So recently I've been trying to finish Final Fantasy games with only specific characters. I took a break from Final Fantasy X and did another game, back to Final Fantasy IV, but I decided to come back to the OG. After what was maybe an easier challenge than usual with Riku, I have decided to go the opposite direction this time, using what is most definitely one of the hardest characters to solo this game with. You read it right, folks. Today, I am bringing out the Mage, using what is probably the worst method of attacking in this entire game: magic. Magic is so underpowered that it is not even funny, and Lulu's stats, apart from magic, are not really what I would call world class. However, I do have hopes of finishing the whole game with her alone. Hello everyone, Loot Goblin here, and today I am going to answer the age-old question. Is it possible to solo Final Fantasy X with Lulu only? The answer is no, of course. There will be times when I will be forced to use other characters. But for the sake of the challenge, let's just treat those parts as outside of the challenge, alright? With that said, here are the rules once again. Rule number 1. As always, only Lulu can be used. Apart of course from when we are forced to use someone else. Rule number 2. Only Lulu can be leveled up. When I am forced to use other characters, it will be under no sphere grid rules. Rule number 3. I can only use Lulu's own sphere grid, no wandering to other routes. Rule number 4. There will be no healing inside or outside of battle from other characters. Items will be allowed outside of battle. Rule number 5. I will be using the expert sphere grid for this. This unfortunately means that I will not have access to Flare during this whole run, because for some reason it is in a completely different location within the expert sphere grid. And the last rule, like with Titus's video, customization is a Riku thing, which means that I will not be able to use it here. All used armor and weapons are either bought or dropped. And that's it. Simple and effective. Of course, if you end up enjoying the video, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. And leave a comment down below telling me what you thought about it, and if you'd like to, leave some suggestions for what I should do next time. Without further ado, let's get started. As always, I go through the intro as normal until I get to B-Sade, where I get told that a young summoner is taking a long time coming out of the praying room. I then instantly decide that religion is overrated and rules don't matter. I storm through the temple, solve a ridiculous puzzle to get a weapon I will never be able to use, and meet our hero, who instantly dislikes me. Well, that's no biggie. I'm sure I can get through to her, right? I witness the first summoning of our young summoner and obtain our first Aeon, Bird. I then spy on Lulu arguing with the ginger that kidnapped me, and I take a look at her very nice belts. I then take a nap before expedition and be on my way. And now that I have Lulu with me, this challenge can officially begin. Of course, after I'm done with all the tutorial fights. And let me tell you, the fiends here do not paint a pretty picture of my future in this run. Dingoes resist magic and can silence me, which means that I have to run from them sometimes. You heard it right, I have to run from dingoes. Oh well, I slowly grind till I get some HP, quickly collect some offerings from our adoring fans, and move on to Sin. Luckily here, Lulu can attack the Fiend directly, which means all I have to do is quickly dispose of 2 little Sin spawns and focus all my attacks on the Fiend itself. The final Sin spawn does do a lot of damage, but I get smart and start defending every other turn, so I don't waste all my potions trying to heal myself. With some patience and potion usage, the Sin Fin goes down. I then have to find another Sin spawn with Wako and Titus, but I just treat it as I did in no sphere grid. I heal when I need to, attack when I can. Unfortunately, because my battle IQ is very high, I kill Titus during the Fin fight, which means he starts this one at 1 HP. With that out of the way, I continue my journey and arrive just in time to see Kilika get destroyed by the overweight whale, and decide to, of course, farm some more. I save a little girl so I can receive an ether, which I have a feeling I will have to use eventually, and resume my grinding. I make sure to collect every chest in the forest, especially the free luck sphere. Even though I'm not using physical attacks, I am sure that evading attacks will be key later on. Of course, I collect some more offerings from the NPCs, avoid Lord Ochu for now and move on. I will deal with Ochu later. Since Jinu, or whatever it's called, would be a boss that might have scared me in the past. The tentacles block all magic, so I thought at first I would have to kill them first with physical attacks. What I didn't know was that they only block magic cast on the boss itself, which means I am free to take them out with magic first. After they are down, I cast focus 5 times so I can try to overkill the boss, and then spam fire on it, using antidotes after venom and healing when needed. A little time consuming, but nothing Lulu can handle for now. I then storm into another temple, solve another ridiculous puzzle to get an armor that you guessed it, will never be able to use, get my fire Pokemon and move on. On a boat I make sure to get the jack shot, which surely will be very useful to me, and go through Luca. In here Yuna gets kidnapped, so I guess it's time to do my job. I'll get to it in a minute, of course. First I have to grind these mechs for some high potions and X potions. I did not do it for too long, because why would I want to make my life easier, right? On the way I make sure to collect an HP sphere and a magic sphere. Also some gills so I can get some more potions, because they are never enough. And only after all that is done, I have time for the crawler. And once again I got a problem here. Lulu is super slow. Her evasion does nothing for me here, and Blitzball Rush does half my health. Unfortunately, I am unable to use the crane because I cannot use Titus. This means I have to fight him legit this time. I have to use an eye potion after every 2 hits and some focuses to bring up my damage. I am doing a lot of damage here, but there are times where I don't have time to even attack. So I have to hang in there, pop some healing and pray that I can attack eventually. Luckily I eventually get some turns thanks to some CTB manipulation and get the win. I also want to start crying because I remember that this is only the beginning of the game. It is time for the Blitzball match and I make absolutely sure that I win it. I do not need the reward, but it is a matter of principle. Of course I cannot make it easy on myself, so I fumble the first half completely and the goers score. In the second half I go to use a super mega duper useful jack shot so I can equalize and I'm too late. Luckily I can eventually tie the game because Waka has such a high shot value, and somehow make it to overtime where Letty finally gets the blitz off, gives the ball to Waka and he scores again. Meaning I win the game and the very useless strength sphere. The Mihan I Road is next, and it is at this point that the problems that I was foreseeing during the P8 fights are amplified to 11. Magic is completely useless in this game. Every single area has multiple enemies that either resist magic, can prevent me from casting magic, or both. Wolves, floating eyeballs, armored enemies, they all resist it. And there are variants of them everywhere. Luckily I can still one-shot most of them, but I do have to run from a lot of fights. Lulu is too slow to ever have more than 1 turn. An enemy sometimes can get 2 before me. I am running, and when I need to farm I do it next to a save sphere. After getting past Mihan, the Chocobo Eater is next, and I have no shot here. Lulu is once again way too slow to tackle him to the ground, which means I get pushed off eventually into the old road. It is not a game over, however, so I proceed as normal. I immediately backtrack to get myself a Chocobo. I have to pay 1000 gil for it, but it is worth it as I can get some weapons and items here. Waka's lightning weapon will be used in the extractor fight later on. Kimari weapon will give me some gil when I sell it, and the fortune sphere will be very useful because that means I can finally use the luck sphere that I got from Kilika. Proceeding through the mushroom rock, luckily for me, Lulu is now strong enough to one-shot the elementals and the flowers, so I easily reach the Sin Spawn GUI. And this is yet another fight I was very scared of at the start of the game. Luckily for me, Lulu has barely enough speed to have a turn, so she does not get hit by venom, but I can barely attack. I have to be very patient here. I slowly chip down ahead, because I cannot let it get a turn to attack me, or I most likely will not have a chance to recover. Once it dies, I can finally focus on the boss. There is no point killing the arms here, so I just keep attacking the main body. He usually does attack into Demi into attack, so I know I have time to attack after he does a physical attack. Luckily for me again, Lulu has a lot of evasion, which means the boss misses me a lot. I do have to manipulate the CTB sometimes so that he does not get 2 turns, but with some patience I finally get another W. That is 2 bosses that were wearing me down, all other ones to go. For the second fight I simply allow Seymour to do the fighting. Nothing to it. Moving on to our next assassination, I do not have a lot to do in Jose, however I do make sure to get a Destruction Sphere to trade it for a free Magic Sphere. I then get Sparkles the Pony and move to the Moonflow. And in here I have a big problem. First thing I do is buy a Death Touch for Lulu before I forget about it. And for the Extractor fight, well, it is no Sphere Grid rules, but at this point I noticed that I completely forgot to buy the Slow Touch weapon for Titus in Luca. So I cannot slow the boss down, which means I barely have any turns to heal and attack between depth charges. Luckily there were times where darkness missed, so eventually, after using most of my potion stack, I can take this guy down. I then get Riku so I can have more people on the bench, run through Guado Salam where Lulu decides to play with my heart, and move on to the Thunder Plains. In the Thunder Plains I equip the Death Touch weapon so I can kill Iron Giants and some elements without using my MP, and I keep running from a lot of enemies until I find Cactuars. They are not immune to death in this area, so I keep attacking them in hopes that they get hit and death applies. After killing enough Cactuars and using a lot of potions, I eventually get them to drop an MP scroll for Lulu, which will make my life so much easier in between zones. It means that I have infinite mana as long as I'm walking around. In Makalani I can one-shot most normal enemies with my tier 2 spells, so I am able to make steady progress until Spherimorph. On the way I get a lucky SOS overdrive for Lulu from a Cyphos, that 4-legged jumping fiend. And everyone knows how Spherimorph works. You attack him, he counters with a magic spell, and you hit him with the opposite element. He changes element, rinse and repeat. His normal attack does not do a lot of damage. However, with Lulu's Eye Evasion and Lux Sphere usage, I can dodge almost every normal attack. I can't dodge press, but that cannot kill me, so I have plenty of time to heal up. 5 times focus for max damage and max magic resist, and the Fury to end things means that this was by far the easiest boss fight of the run. So far. Now before I move on to the next boss, there is something I must do before I lose my chance. I backtrack all the way back to Kilaka, and I start killing Lord Ochi. Over and over and over again. I always make sure to overkill him every time, as his normal drop are MP spheres. However, we are not here for the MP spheres, we are here for his rare drop, the HP spheres. After much resetting and patience, I eventually get my 2 HP spheres and am now able to continue. Which means that it is time for the Crawler boss fight. Probably the boss fight I was worried about the most. I cannot use magic here at all, that includes Fury, and Lulu does not have any ranged attacks apart from magic, so she cannot kill the Negator. That means my only hope for this fight is that Lulu somehow evades everything while I'll slowly chip him down with 40 damage attacks. Until I do all his 16,000 HP. So I immediately do 5 reflexes, and I find out that the boss cannot hit Lulu ever. Well, now this means that this fight is very possible. Auto battle does not work, so I have to manually attack here, and that's what I do over and 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 over again for about 40 damage every time, until I eventually take out the Crawler and his massive, for this point, and for my way of attacking, 16,000 HP. Even on 4 times speed, this almost puts me to sleep. Well, what about Seymour? Seymour himself is easy enough. 2 level 2 spells are more than enough for the guards. Of course, I have to pray that they don't confuse me first. Then a couple of spells just end the first phase. Thanks to Lulu's high magic defense, I do not take much damage here. Anima, however... Well, to put it bluntly, I do not have enough damage to kill her. I am not even close. She has 18,000 HP, and I have to somehow kill her before she has a turn to use Pain. And she sometimes is able to use Pain without Lulu even being able to get a turn. That is just how slow she is. I guess I actually have to do some grinding now, eh? Which is what I do, but unfortunately this is one of the worst areas to do it. The evil eyes that spawn here can confuse Lulu every time. She cannot evade their attacks. Which means I will not be able to use magic, and because she evades a lot, it's hard to take her out of confusion. But I gotta do what I gotta do. With some regular saving and after some game over sponsored by confusion, I eventually grind my way to the level 3 spells and give it another shot. With Fury after 5 focuses, I almost have enough to bring down Anima. Unfortunately, my wrist rotation is very slow for the Furies, so I need some more magic power. And a little bit of grinding later, I come back and have just enough damage to get through Anima with one Fury cast. Seymour is then powerless to stop me. Lulu's magic defense is too high for him to deal with, so all I have to do is use Bio and keep my HP high enough so he does not kill me. Finally I can move on. After, of course, I get Shiva and do another trial that I have to finish thoroughly to get a Destruction Sphere so I can get another Luck Sphere, because I will not be able to come back later because Dark Shiva exists. A few random encounters that I am completely overpowered for later. I got Wendigo to go through, and I am once again relying on Lulu's evasion. Now this threat works for the most part. I forgot about his bio immunity, so I wasted a turn. Demi does work, but it does less damage than a normal level 3 spell, so I wasted another turn. Unfortunately, I cannot evade all attacks without 5 reflexes, so I need to heal once as it hits very hard. Luckily for me, Lulu, after the reflexes, is able to dodge almost everything Wendigo has to offer, so he becomes as much as a pushover as he always is. Unfortunately for challenge sakes, I am going to be very overpowered for a bit. In Bicanel during the mandatory zoo fight, all I have to do is cast Bio and let Lulu evade everything. Same with the Big Worm. The Cactuars I cannot kill because they are immune to death, so I have to run from them, and every other enemy just gets one-shot by my spells at this point. The Mandragora can be beat with a Death Cast. It does miss the first time I use it on him, but it cannot resist the second one. If that is done, it is time to go home. The fiends here are not an issue. The damn Guaros are. If they decide that Lulu cannot cast magic, she will not cast magic. I got Silence Ward, but that never works, and they can still confuse me. So it is springtime. I heal until I can finally attack them. When I can attack them, they get one shot, so if I can have a turn, any fight is pretty much done. Bombs get one shot by Blizzaga, the dual horns die to a couple of magic spells, and the chimeras are susceptible to death. In fact, everything here is susceptible to death, which means a good Death Fury will end most fights. Before I leave, I make sure to get the free elixir, friend sphere, special and skill spheres. I can only use the elixir, but my inner loot goblin must be satisfied sometimes. And now it's time to crash a wedding. First I have to deal with the red carpet, and this red carpet has big, sharp teeth. Evroy never messes around, and this time is no exception. First of all, he takes half damage from elements, so there goes all my damage. Second thing is, like always, Lulu is super omega slow, which means I can never have 2 turns before Evroy has. Unlike the Crawler and the Wendigo, even with 5 reflexes, Evroy can still hit Lulu, and he hits hard. He can also stone me, and it is hard to kill it before he uses it. Poison Breath on his own is not a threat, however, because I never have any turns to cure poison and heal right after, if I don't dodge his next attack, Poison Breath can be lethal. Don't even get me started on the haste phase. I will never have any turns on the haste phase. After multiple stonings, I finally get the brilliant idea of just using Fury. I was doing around 9000 per overdrive and I had 3 overdrives to use before Stone Gaze. That left me with a little bit of HP left to deal with. Stone Gaze happens when his hidden counter reaches 6. Magic attacks raised by 1, overdrives raised by 2. By using a Firaga in the middle of my Furies, I am able to use my final overdrive when his counter is still at 5, doing enough damage to finish a job before Stone Gaze happened. Of course, I always had to keep my HP up during the fight, however, because I was not attacking, I had plenty of turns to heal. Man, Yuna looks so good here, it's almost a shame to ruin the party. Almost. Lulu can one-shot every enemy in Bavel. I have to grind so much for the first Seymour fight that I am still overpowered here. After that, I have one slow trial to do. But I do get another HP sphere. I then misspell Ghidorah and am now forced to use Yuna for a bit. Luckily my Bahamut is strong enough to deal with everything until I can reach Lulu, and once I do, she just one-shots everything here. So I am free to get all the chests that I want. And to this day I still wonder how Izaru ever thought he will be able to beat Sin with Aeons this week. My Shiva alone is more than enough to deal with everything he has to throw at me. I use Noblesse to stop his Ifrit's Hellfire, and I use Blizzara to kill everything here. For the second part to the Via Purifico, because I cannot use Lulu again, I just run from everything. I then throw 2 Phoenix Downs at every Altana to make quick work of it. In the average, it's the same story, Lulu just one-shots everything. So I skip over it and make it to Natus. And this guy, if you do not know what you're doing, can be very difficult. In his first phase, he bombards me with spells, so I have to switch to all of the elemental protection armor I have in order. The order is Blizzara, Thundara, Watera, and then Fyra. Repeat. During his second phase, he uses Break, and I do not have any stone protection. And in his last phase, he spams Flare and is healed by the Morty Body. Well, unless I do something different. For some reason, this guy does not switch phases unless you actually do damage to him directly, or if he gets HP absorbed by the Morty Body. Poison damage does not count for this, and luckily for me, Bio does no damage. So the strat is simple. I use Bio, I focus 5 times while swapping to the correct elemental protection armor, and I heal when I need to. Honestly, with 5 focuses and my stats, the elemental protection armor were nothing more than luxury items. Lulu could still survive just fine without them. So after the easiest Natus fights you will ever see, Yuna and Titus have a makeout session, I am finally able to get myself a Stoneproof armor with Silence Proof for Lulu, and will casually move on to Defender X. This game is usually a complete pushover, but it's not in this run. Even with 5 reflexes, Lulu cannot dodge every attack, and he does a lot of damage. Blast Punch, usually an inoffensive move, is now a big issue. Like always, Lulu is very slow, and Blast Punch causes delay. He uses Blast Punch after being hit by 3 magical attacks, so I need a bit of luck here. After 3 normal attacks, he will use Zaymaker, which will one-shot me if I'm not defending, and its normal attack, if I am not careful, will also very easily kill me. During all my attempts, whenever I get hit by Blast Punch, unless he does a normal attack and misses, I die. Which means I have to kill him in pretty much 3 moves. Which means, of course, that I can only use overdrives almost. With Fury, I'm doing around 21 to 22,000 HP if I roll right, so that is my only hope right now. I defend and heal until my overdrive is up, I make sure I am full HP or with enough HP to survive at least 1 normal attack, make sure it is not an A-maker turn, and then use Fury and hope to God it does not kill me because of the delay that using an overdrive gives you. He always gets 2 turns after my overdrive, so I have to pray for at least 1 miss every time. This took me a while. For some reason, when you don't want it to hit, his normal attacks will always hit you. And at this point, I always have to keep count for haymakers. Any distractions and I am out. I was really not expecting this boss to give me this much trouble. I had dozens of attempts here. Eventually I get the right RNG, his attacks miss when I needed them to, and even though I am forced to use a 4th overdrive because I somehow only rolled 4 spells on one of them, I get the job done and am now able to move on to the next boss. Which luckily for me is not nearly as much of an issue. Yojimbo has to be done next. He is too important for our hero's story to pass up. Of course, before that I make sure to get me an elixir and a fortune sphere to use with the luck sphere I still have. For old Yojimbo though, well, none of his moves do enough damage to worry me. He just uses Daigoro a lot and that only does around 600 damage. His Kozuka and Wakizashi do more damage than that, but never enough to actually worry me. With all the hype potions that Lulu keeps somewhere, healing is not an issue. Only way for me to lose this fight is if I decide not to heal, or if I decide to stall and get hit by Zanmaru. And none of those things would ever happen, so it's an easy dub for Lulu. Before leaving I grab the free MP sphere and move on to Gagazet. And like always in these solo challenges, I am now forced to break the rules somewhat and use someone other than Lulu. Luckily for me, because Kimari is so weak, so are Biran and Yankee. So Kimari is just able to spam Lancet and use his overdrives when they are available to get the easy win. Going through Gagazet, I make sure to talk to Wands and buy myself a magic booster weapon, because that is some serious firepower for the rest of the run. I also get myself an SOS shell armor, which will help me against Flux. And of course I stock up on items again, including Holy Waters. While finishing up my trek, I grab the 2 chests that contain a free HP sphere and level 4 key sphere, and I get an extremely lucky drop of a SOS haste from the Bashura. I wasn't even farming for it, but that will be very handy for the fights to come. And now I have to somehow come up with a strat for Flux. This guy is the worst possible matchup for Lulu. She is slow, so no turns to heal zombie. Lance of Atrophy does not care for her evasion. The poison strat kinda works, he gets hit by poison, but the same thing that Natus does, Flux doesn't do. Even if I don't damage him directly, he will still switch phases. And when, of course, when he gets low enough, he will use Reflect on himself, which means I can no longer use spells on him. Basically, I need luck. Flux will have the first turn every time, so even though I hate to do this, I need to hope that he kills my other party members first. After 2 Lance of Atrophy plus full life combos, he will start casting the spell and then use Crosscleave. I quit my SOS haste just before the fight in hopes to get an extra turn to heal up before his next attacks. It does not work. Before my next attempt, I grind so I can get double casts, and then I somehow get the perfect start. He attacks my other party members first while I stop using focus and just nuke him to get out of the first phase as quick as possible. He then uses Crosscleave and I mess up by full healing, which brought me out of haste, but I still managed a turn after Lance of Atrophy, so I was able to heal the zombie. After another double cast, and I am doing around 8000 damage per spell at this point with Magic Booster, I am able to reach the second phase and things are starting to look up. Flare is only doing around 1200 damage because of Lulu's magic defense, and I can easily survive total annihilation. All I have to do is survive his attacks, attack the Mori body so he absorbs Seymour's HP and heal when needed. Unfortunately, I mess up big time. Even with SOS haste, he manages a flare after total annihilation, which just kills me because I did not heal. So, after some attempts where I cannot even get off the ground, I finally decide to change threats. First thing I do is put Lulu in critical HP so that SOS haste works from the start. This allows me to have the first turn. This makes it so I can nuke him and get it out of first phase quicker. I still need luck so that the first lance combo does not hit Lulu, but at least with 2 double casts, I can force him to use Protect. I don't know if that delays him or not, but he ended up using lance and was then delayed for full life, which means I survived. After another double cast, he goes to his Flare and Total Annihilation combo, which is when I immediately swap to my SOS Shell Armor. This makes it so I can survive a Flare after Total Annihilation every single time, and then I am able to heal with an X potion. After a few turns of waiting for poison to hit and eating the Morty body for those sweet HP absorptions, Flux goes down and I never have to hear from him again. Sanctuary Keeper comes next, and while I usually break him completely, I do not have the ability to do so this time, which means I have to fight him the legit way. And this somehow became another luck-based fight. First thing I need is to not get hit by Confuse, or Sleep, or Silence. At this point I can only protect myself from one. Second thing I need is to somehow out-damage his healing, or hope that he just does not heal. I also need his tail sweep to not hit me, as that will cause delay and Lulu is slow enough as it is. If I get delayed before Mana Breath, I am in trouble. I will have to heal again, which will cause me to not be able to attack, which will give him more chances to heal. And then Float on Wings comes soon right after, and I have to heal again. Luckily for me, luck was on my side. I got inflicted by sleep, but I am able to get woken up quickly, a couple of tail swipes and normal attacks miss, and I get lucky enough that he uses regen instead of Kiraga, which means that I have barely enough damage to kill him. A quick trip to Zanarkand is in order. Lulu one-shots everything but the mech, so I run from those, and now I have the final Cloister of Trials. The Tetris Trials. Long but easy. Wish I could say the same about Spectral Keeper though. I have enough turns to do stuff. However, if I get hit by Berserk, it's game over. Luckily for me, Berserk Tail only has a 50% chance to cause Berserk. So with a simple Berserk ward, Lulu is immune to Berserk. Because of that, I go back to Gagazet to farm Mandragoras. These Ochu wannabes drop Berserk ward armor, so I kill them until they finally drop me what I want. With that out of the way, I go back to the boss. Everything is going well. With Focus and Magic Booster, I am doing very decent damage. With my evasion, I can dodge most of his counterattacks. And then Glyph Mine is used, and Lulu's speed once again bites me in the behind. If he uses Glyph Mine on top of Lulu, I am most certainly dead. Unless I somehow manage to have a turn to swap places. Unfortunately, if I use my SOS Haste Armor, I cannot protect myself from Berserk, so that is not an option. Which means my only way to win is wait until RNG dictates that Glyph Mine is not used on me. As soon as that happens, I start nuking the boss with some more urgency, I heal when needed, and like always, after at least a dozen attempts, I am victorious. And exhausted. This run of bosses has been hard as nails, and it is not slowing down from here. And I'm proven right away, because Yunalesca is next, and like always, she is a test to my endurance. She has 3 phases. The first phase is used by me as a buffing phase. I used 5 focuses before anything else. During the second phase, I always make sure to heal zombies so I don't die to healing spells while still nuking her. I use SOS Haste to speed up the process here, and the first 2 phases go by pretty quickly. The third phase is the problem. Before finishing the second phase, I made sure to be in zombie status, so I don't die immediately to Mega Death. I heal zombie right after, because at this point she can use Kiraga on some turns, and that will kill me most likely. But I also need to be careful of her pattern, as after one of the Hellbeaters she will use Mega Death again, so if I heal zombie by accident, I'm dead. So I carefully proceed to the fight. I do get confused by Mind Break, but that's not too bad with Lulu, just means a wasted turn. I keep doing consistently good damage while managing to heal when not zombified, and of course staying a zombie when needed. And well, she might be immortal, but I end up killing her anyway. Somehow I did it on my first attempt, because I had very good RNG on the Kiraga turns, but of course out of all the bosses, this one has to be the one I did first try. Luckily for me now, I have some time to get a breather. I have the airship now, which means I can get myself some good armor without fighting. I search for the battle site and Bosch Temple. These are the only 2 places that matter to me right now. In the battle site I collect a Phantom Bangle, which prevents fire, ice and water damage. Very important for the future boss fight. I also get the Bosch Temple just in case I need to get Lulu's Celestial Weapon later on. With that out of the way, our break is over and it's time to fight Sin once more. His fiends are really simple but tedious to fight. I am doing around 9000 a spell, so it is not too bad, but it does not do anything. I do make sure to kill the first fiend with Fury for an overkill, so I can get myself 2 HP spheres. And then I do the same thing for the second one for 2 level 2 key spheres, which are not as needed but still appreciated. The Sin spawn is sent packing with 3 Pyragas, and the core, even though it doesn't take much damage, also doesn't do a lot of damage. As long as I use an eye potion after Gravija, I can never die. I overkill it for some really no longer needed MP spheres and hit a wall. A big fishy wall. Overdrive Sin. And this is one hell of a wall here. Lulu speed once again shows its ugly head. 150,000 HP, an attack that can either petrify or confuse, and no protection for both at the same time. It's a toughie. On my first couple of attempts, I am not even close and only do a little over half HP. And that was one of the tries where I made it that far. I tried to use SOS Haste, but that just left me open to Petrify. Worse, I do not have access to Flare thanks to the Expert Crit, so unless I farm the Ultima, I cannot get a better magic spell. So let's try to do this without another farming session. I do need more stats still, so I get right on that. Every temple at this point can be revisited for some different stat spheres. Of course, Bezaid and Makalani are now blocked by Dark Aeons, so those are out of the picture, but Kilika and Jose are free. I go to Kilika first, speak to the Faith and get myself a Luck Sphere, Accuracy Sphere, Defense Sphere, and, most importantly, an Agility Sphere. I then get to Jose, get another Luck Sphere, Magic Defense, and another Agility Sphere. These two Agility Spheres are key. Maybe, now that I have those, that's plus 8 Agility, maybe I now have enough speed. I am still in need of luck here though. I need SOS Haste here, so Stone or Confused Protection are out. So I need to be lucky and not get hit by them. Luckily for me, on my last attempt I do not get hit by Petrify. I do however get confused, and then Lulu crits herself to drop to 29 HP, which means I completely soiled my pants here. And so, in the most critical of HPs, I do 2 more double casts, get the win, go change quickly, and move on. For the next boss, I make sure to equip the Phantom Bangle that I got earlier, because it makes it a joke. And once I get to the arena, look who it is. Back for one last ass whooping I see. There is absolutely nothing he can do to me at this point. In the first phase, he spams Firaga 4 times in a row. But I got Fire Eater equipped, so thank you for the healing, man. I use Focus just to make sure I don't take the Ultima, and then double cast Blizzaga until he uses the spell. After the spell, he uses Ultima, and it is now that I see that I really have no reason to worry. Even if I hadn't used the focuses, Ultima would never kill me, because it does less than half my HP, which means I actually could have killed him before he even used it. However, 2 more double casts and I get rid of this creepy bastard, for good this time. This time I mean it. Alright, final boss time. And it is as difficult as it always is. At this point I have Ultima. I cannot get Flare, which means if I want to do big damage to the boss, I have no choice but to kill the pagodas. This is probably going to be a problem later. They will be coming back with more and more HP every time after all, but I cannot afford to use elemental magic here because I will never do enough damage. With Lulu's speed, BFA's delays, stone attacks, overdrives and curses from the pagodas, I have an actual expiration date here. My first couple of attempts all end almost the same way. I either die to his normal attacks because it does so much damage and I can't heal in time, or I get cursed by the pagodas, get put to sleep, get hit by an attack, cursed again, hit again. Or I just die to his overdrive. And of course this opens up another issue. If I don't use Magic Booster, I do no damage. If I use it, my MP disappears. Especially later on when he starts getting healed from the pagodas more and more. Remember, he still has a 180,000 HP. And he gets healed for 3000 HP every time if the pagodas are alive. After an hour of 0 progress, not even being able to be close to his second phase, I decide to go for the last thing that can still make me stronger. Time to get the Onion Knight. You know the drill. Chocobo race to get the Cloudy Mirror, side quest in Makalani to power it up to the Celestial Mirror. Now I need to get the weapon, which means I have to fight the big fish in the Bosch Temple, and Lulu is unavailable. Well, I guess I got to bend the rules just a little bit, right? I buy some grenades, equip the evade and counter weapon I got for Waka in the Via Purifico chest, and then mix the grenade with a Friend Sphere. This creates a Chaos Grenade, which will poison the boss. And I have to do it this way, because he has a 95% poison resist, So even if I try to use the Sonar Poison Strike weapon I get for Riku in the Mihian Ruins location, I will have to be extremely lucky for it to hit. And I really need poison here. Without poison, damaging this guy is almost impossible for me. Eventually, he swallows up Waka, I do not resist. He spits out Waka, wiping out my 2 other party members, but I quickly pick him up with the Mega Phoenix, and now I wait for him to die to poison. Luckily for me, he ends up swallowing Waka up again, which means that when he spits him out, because I do not resist, it does 0 damage. If you do not struggle when you get swallowed up, it just spits out the character, leaving them with 1 HP and doing the equivalent damage to everyone else. Because Waka was already at 1 HP, no damage to everyone. Hooray! After the second swallow, he goes down soon after, so I am now able to get the Onion Knight chest. First, for it to appear, I need to go to the surface first, and then come back underwater. Unfortunately for me, that was kind of the easy part. I need to power this thing up now. Venus Crest is easy enough. All I have to do is go to the far plane, watch the cutscene there, and open the chest. The sigil though, you know what I need to do. I know what I need to do. I know that I do not want to do it. But whatever. It's time to dodge 200 lightning bolts. Now there are some ways to cheese this, but for some reason I can never do it the usual way that everyone does. I also want to minimize encounters here. They don't reset the counter, but it makes it easy to mess up if the lightning comes right after the victory screen. So what I do is I find the soul right here, I stay put until thunder strikes, dodge, go back in the middle, immediately dodge. I then go back to the middle after the second strike, and repeat. I prefer this way because again, I never seem to be able to do the runaround that everyone does. And this way random encounters are rare. I do 10, take a small break, go back in. With patience and multiple background music, I eventually dodge all 200 strikes, dodging just a little more to account for possible missed counts. Time for my reward, and the sigil is not the only prize here. I get 2 X potions for 5 dodges, 2 MP spheres for 20, 3 useless strength spheres for 50, 3 HP spheres for 100, 4 Mega Elixirs for 150, and I finally get the goddamn Venus sigil at 200. I hate the minigames in this game so much sometimes. I then can finally power it up, which gives me both Magic Booster and 1 MP cost. The 2 other abilities don't matter, but these 2 together might actually give me a real shot at BFA. Unfortunately for me, even though I am stronger, even though I have more HP and infinite MP, I still cannot protect myself from all status effects. I have a Stoneproof armor to protect myself from Jack Beam, but the pagodas keep coming back one at a time and use Curse on me. And Curse inflicts me sleep and poison, so guess what happens? I've tried not killing them, but Triumphant Grasp exists. It does not one-shot me in the first phase, but it inflicts Zombie, and I cannot heal because of that. So I cure Zombie, but there goes my turn, I can no longer heal again. This happens every time. If I'm able to heal up, guess what? The pagodas are up and are recharging his overdrive again and healing him, all because Lulu is too damn slow to be able to attack. Her speed plagued me through the whole run, but it is really screwing me over here. The worst part is that unlike before, I cannot use SOS Haste to compensate because then Jack Beam just petrifies me. I sit in this fight for over 5 hours, racking my brain for a strat, hoping for a miracle, but I was never even able to get close to finishing the first phase. So, it's with a very heavy heart that I officially declare that this challenge, with the rules that I set up, is a failure. Even with a small bit of rule bending that I did to get the Onion Knight, I am not able to beat Vraska's final Aeon with the rules I imposed on myself. So, for those of you that were here only to see if it was possible or not, you got your answer. However, I am not satisfied with this. From this point forward, consider this not a part of the challenge. But I got this far, It would be a shame to at least not try and kill this guy with a little more flexibility, right? Maybe if I just get a couple of abilities that are not part of Lulu's grid without actually leaving her grid? I got some special spheres on my inventory, so I'm just going to quickly get Steel and Use, go to the Thunder Plains to steal a Light Curtain from an Iron Giant, and a Chocobo Feather from a Cactuar. One of which is enough, as I will not be abusing this mechanic, nor am I going to be customizing. So now that I have a way to using Protect and Haste, I go back to give it another shot. And it's still no good. I take less damage, I am a bit faster, but I still get destroyed by Curse. I cannot protect myself from it, so I need to kill the boss quick and need to get lucky with the pagoda respawns and damage numbers. Eventually, after about an hour of attempts, I am finally able to reach the second stage. Unfortunately for me, it only gets harder from here. You can now use his Sword Swipe, which not only does massive damage, it also delays my turn. His Triumphant Grasp is stronger now. With Protect it does around 5000 damage to me, which means that if I am not at full HP, I die. I still do not have enough turns to attack and heal. His delay does not help, and haste only makes it so I can survive. Resources are limited here, so maybe I just need something else? Just one little bit more? Lulu is a magic user, right? So how bad would it be if I just get the Drain spell? It's magic, right? I don't need to get past any stats notes for it anyways, and it's not like Waka is using it, right? So I quickly get Drain, and now that I can heal and attack, let's see how I do. I'm still not doing well, huh? I still need luck to even get myself past the first phase. I'll do it eventually, so let's see how I do. I basically have to double cast Drain whenever he uses the Sword Swipe. When he does a normal attack or a Jack Beam, I can actually use Drain plus an Ultima spell for damage. Slowly but surely I do chip him down. And once I get him below 60,000 HP, he starts using the Ultimate Jack Shot as his overdrive. Which really looks badass, but is actually weaker than Triumphant Grasp. And it doesn't cost Zombie, which means I am free to just heal it back up with Drains. This actually makes it so that the final stretch of the fight is actually easier than the beginning of the second phase. At this point the pagodas have so much HP that they are hard to kill, but I am not worried about it. On one hand they can no longer cast Curse, on the other they are constantly healing the boss and raising his overdrive. But with Drain I can actually keep up with the healing, and again the Ultimate Jack Shot is not a threat to me. So steadily, after hours and hours of attempts, after a bit of rule bending, I am finally able to take Nebraska's final Aeon down. And ladies and gentlemen, the challenge is still considered a complete failure. Of course, saying that, the Aeons and UE7 are left, but at this point an Ultima is enough to kill everything in my path, so the world is now saved. So, with that, we reach the end of yet another solo challenge video for Final Fantasy X. Unfortunately, it is also the first one that I am not able to complete with the rules I set out. Consider the final fights a bonus for watching, of course. There was no way I was just going to leave the final bosses alive after getting this far, you know. Of course, like always, if you enjoyed the video and want to see more of my content, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below telling me what you thought about the video, and leave some suggestions about what challenge I should do next time. With that said, like always, I will see you all later. Take it easy.